Welcome back for another video. Today's video is going to be on 3D Mill Lesson 12. This is going to be the tutorial, and this is our print right here. So for this one, what we're going to do is we're actually going to do a swept path, and there's really two main types of swept paths that we can do. We can either use rails, which would have two sides, or we can use one straight path in the middle and it will taper. Let's go ahead and create this, and I'll kind of explain the difference between the two once we get to the point where we're ready to extrude, or not extrude, but actually sweep these. So if we look at this, what we end up with here is one profile on the end and another profile on this end, and then we're just going to create a path for that to travel through. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and start to create that. So I'm just going to draw this one first and this one second. I'm going to do it the same way that I normally do. I'm going to do it on the right side plane, and I'll move everything. So if I go to right side plane, and it looks like I have a 0.6 wide, and it looks like it is 2.375 inches over. So I'm going to draw a rectangle, anchor it to center, 2.375, comma 0, and I'm going to make that a width of 0.6 and 0.6 high. Okay, and hit check. And I'm just going to trim that real quick. Well, I can. Okay. Alright, so there's my first profile. All I need to do is put a radius on there. It looks like it's an 1/8 radius. So let's go ahead and 125. Check. Alright. So there's that profile. Next profile. Oh, you know what? Actually, that is an 1/8 inch in the Z, so I need to actually translate that a little bit. I just made a little mistake there. Negative 0.125. Move, check. Okay, there we go. Now it's in the right place. Okay, so the next one looks like it's negative 5.875. So let's put a negative 5.875 in our Z, and now that we have that in there, go to top, oops, not top, right side view, and I'm going to turn my 2D on so I don't have to snap to anything. I really shouldn't anyway because they don't overlap, but never hurts to have it on there anyway. Alright, so center of this one is going to be 0.875, comma 0, and the width of this is going to be 1.0, and the height is going to be 0.8. Okay, check. Okay, let's get rid of this one. Alright, and let's fillet this. Okay, alright, so there's our two profiles. Now, while I remember, I'm going to get rid of this so I don't have to translate a bunch of stuff around later when I forget about that. Alright, so I have my two profiles. I'm going to go ahead and go to my top view, and I am going to move those a while. So I'm going to translate those, and we're going to go 6.0, tab, negative 2.875, and that's going to put them in the correct place. Okay, next I am going to draw a, oops, what the heck happened there? Next I'm going to draw a profile line. And what I'm going to draw is this here center line, right down the middle. And that line is really easy to draw. See, what I can see here is that this part starts at 1 inch wide and it finishes at 0.6 wide, as you can see here. And it's tapering that whole distance. Over that distance, it's tapering an equal amount. That's when it tapers like that, an equal amount consistently down to a size, that's when you want to use one line to extrude it. If I wanted to control that taper, maybe it tapers more here in this first inch and then it doesn't taper at all for the rest of it, then I would do 2 lines and I would create exactly how I wanted it to taper. In this case, I only want to do 1 because I want it to taper equally the whole way down. So for the exercise, you actually need to create 2 lines and use 2 paths. All right, so I'm going to create this line. And let's see, it's at -2 inches. -2.0. Actually, that's the y. 0.125, comma, -2.0. And I'm just going to draw my line there. And my other line is going to be negative, got 875 is -0.5. So it's going to be 5.875, comma, -0.5. And I'm just going to draw that line as well. All right, and I'm going to draw my circles. It looks like my first circle is at negative, yes, it's 1.5 inches, so it's at -1/2 inch in the y and 1.5 in the x. 0.5. All right, and the radius is 1.5. Check that one. And I believe that's all I need, actually. Yeah, that's the only one I need. And then I'll just draw a line from my 140. I'll draw this line tangent. So if I subtract, if I figure out what does 140 minus, or 180 minus 140, I get 40 degrees. So this is a 40-degree angle here. So I can use that. And I'll just type in 40. And click my circle and draw that line to intersect. And then I can put a radius on here. And I believe that radius is 1 1/4, 1.25. Okay, that looks good. And then let's go ahead and trim. All right, so there is my path. So I've created my path. Now what I need to do is I need to sweep that. So I'm going to go to my solids. I'm going to pick sweep. And I'm going to start by picking my profiles. Hit check. And hit check. Now it's asking for the contours that I'm going to be swept along. That's going to be this path. Then I'm going to hit check. And there we go. We have our surface. Okay. So now that we have our surface, the other thing we can do, actually, let me pause there real quick. Right here, it says, it's basically asking me what I want to use swept surface. If I pick 2 rails, then I would need to pick the rails. And what I would do for rails is I would basically connect this point to this point and this point to this point with a profile like this, with this profile. That's what you're going to need to do for your next exercise. You're going to do that for your exercise. So you're going to have to connect the ends with 2 rails as opposed to doing it this way. So let me go back to that and sweep. Here to here. Oops. Messed that up. There to there. There to there. Enter. And there to there. Must be at least 2 cheats. Oh, I accidentally picked 2 rails. That's why. Yeah, if it's stuck on 2 rails, you're going to end up with it giving you an alarm because you need 2 contours. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit check. And generally, I put my surfaces on another level. So I'm actually going to call this profiles. And I'm going to create a new level and call it surfaces. And I'm going to select this and right click, move it over, check. All right, and turn that off. Okay, so now that I have my main surface, now what I need to do is I actually need to create a boundary, and I'm going to create this flat boundary on the ends. To do that, what I'm really going to do is actually I need to turn on my my level. I forgot about that. And I'm just going to select here and here. And here and here. And hit check. It's going to tell me, do I want to automatically close it? Because I didn't close the top. I'm going to say yes. And it's going to close them for me. Okay, so now I can create the fillets in these corners here. Now, this is important to know. So I automatically set this to an 1/8 inch ahead of time, just so you can see what would happen if it's not set to the right radius. There's a minimum amount, or there's a maximum radius you can put in here. And if you put bigger, it won't create the radius correctly. So I wanted to demonstrate that. So I'm going to select, and okay, so you see there, you have gaps. It just can't close it with that big of a radius. It gives you some goofy stuff going on there. Now, not to worry, you can go in and change this now. 0.075, and it'll give you the right radius. But don't panic when you see that at first. Make sure that you go back and you change it, and everything should work out okay. All right, so I'm going to hit check, and I'm going to go pick this one. Oops. Clear selection. Okay. And of course, I have trim surfaces on. Otherwise, it wouldn't trim these, so you might want to make sure you have that on as well. And there we go. There is our finish surface. All right, let's go back and let's pick a machine. Pick 3D Haas 3-axis mill and set our stock up. Leave our stock as 2.875 by 6.0, and we are up in the upper hand corner. All right, and that looks pretty good. Okie doke. So let's go ahead and we are going to do a pocket for this one. I'm just going to select this face. And what I could do actually, if you have issues selecting, so if I hit clear selection, I just hold down shift. It's supposed to give me tangent when I do shift. It didn't though. The other option for that to even make it easier is if you go to pocket, you're going to select your, let me try that shift again, see if that works. Nope, that didn't work. Okay, well, what you can do is you can just go over to select all surfaces. So if I just hit select all surfaces, I get everything. So I'll hit end selection. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the containment point for now. And I'm going to rough this out with a 3/8 bull mill. Let's see here, filter, none, check. 3/8 bull with an 1/8 inch. Let's actually go a little bit smaller than that because that can't get into those corners. So I'm going to go a little smaller than that, and we're going to do 80 inches a minute at 12,000 RPM and 30 inches per minute for the plunge. Everything here looks good. Minimum or maximum step down, I'll make this 50 thou. We're going to entry helix, that looks fine. And we're going to do a constant overlapping spiral. Step over percentage, we'll do 45. Finish, that looks fine. We'll put a wear on there. Check. Okay. You can see there, that looks pretty good. So we got most of the stuff out of there, most of it cleared out. Alright, so we are ready to put our finish pass, and we're going to use a waterline pass for this. Put 0 on my stock. Entities, I need to select all my surfaces. Check. And toolpath control, and include a silhouette boundary for that. Tooltip center, everything looks good there. My tool, I'm actually going to use a 3/16 ball mill for this. And actually check, I'm going to use an 1/8" ball mill. That's a lie. We're going to go about 25 inches a minute. Spindle speed of 12,000. And maybe 15.0 for a plunge rate. Okay, step down. I'm going to make it 5 thousandths. Oops, 5 thousandths. And steep, shallow. Okay. So here I'm going to limit this 75 degrees to 90 degrees. So basically what that means is anything between 75 degrees and 90 degrees is what it's going to rough out. So it's not going to finish the bottom because the bottom's at 0 degrees. So it's only going to finish those steep walls. Okay, and we're going to do the Z depth. We're going to detect the limits there for that. This needs to be the same as 0.01 as my depth cut. So it's going to rough between those limits there. If I were to change this, this could change here. So it's just detecting the depth or where the start is to the end between these two angles, surface angles. So 1.0, everything else there looks good. I think that's good. Yeah, so I think it looks good. Okay, you can see there, it just finishes the outside. It didn't finish the bottom because that isn't in that angle range that we put in there. Now to finish the bottom, what we're going to do is we're going to go with a scallop. Where is my scallop? There's an equal scallop. There's a scallop. Okay, I'm going to put 0 in there, 0 in there, and I'm going to select all these surfaces again. And selection, toolpath control, include my silhouette boundary. Let's see, go to tool. I'm going to select my 1/8" end mill again. And we're going to make this 25 inches a minute at 12,000 RPM and 15.0 for a plunge. Okay. Now, what we don't want to do is we don't want to refinish the sides here. So I'm just looking at my step over. Step over, we're going to make this 0.005. And I think your book has you make it like 10 or something, but I'm going to keep it 5. All right. So now our limiting angle. We're going to go from 80 to 0. And we're not going, well, we are going to detect the limits here. And let's see here. So we got that to that. All right. So let's go ahead and hit linking 1.0 and check. Okay. And there we go. So it roughed out most of it, and then it finishes the whole thing. All right, let's see what we've got. Oh, I just forgot something. Forgot to do my stock. Roughing tool, corner radius, check, and regen that. Uh-oh. Well, what I can do, I can just select a previous operation. Actually do all previous operations. Regen. Okay, so now it's just going to do the parts that it didn't get with the first one. The first two operations, that is. Whoops. Let's select all. Hit play once I get a chance here. So you can see this is the scallop here taking shape. This takes a while because we're using an 1/8 inch end mill, which is not ideal, but that's what we're limited to because of the way that the part is. So take a look at that. That looks good. So, not bad. With that, that is all there is for this lesson. If you have any questions, feel free to see me during class, or of course you can ask me during my office hours.